This video is brought to you by Battle-Tested Film Gear for all your tips, tricks, tutorials, and tools. Check us out, battletestedfilmgear.com. Hey guys, so I started typing this out as a comment, but it ended up being a lot longer than I wanted to in the comments, so I just decided to do a quick video. I don't really have time for it, but I'm going to do it just as quickly as I can. I've done a couple of videos explaining this, but then never really liked how I said it, so I'll just give it a go one last time and get it out there. The question keeps popping up. Blackmagic or Lumix camera? Pretend this is a GH4. Because they're two great options for both very good solutions for your filmmaking, shooting needs. But you have to consider them as apples and oranges for a couple reasons. I kind of come from two different backgrounds. I come from a filmmaking background, shooting 35mm motion picture film. I also come from a TV broadcast background, shooting E&G style before there was 24p, before there was progressive period interlaced broadcast cameras. And in a way, I'm using this as an example to explain my thoughts between these two different camera systems. And when I say camera systems, I like to say when you buy a camera, you're not just buying, you have to think of it as how does it fit in your camera system. When you're buying something like the Blackmagic camera, you're buying essentially a sensor and the acquisition system, which is just the card in the back here, if that's what you're going to use to capture the data. When you're buying a different camera, say something like the GH4, obviously it's the GH2, you're buying the camera and you're also buying the acquisition system, but maybe you want to go something a little bit higher end, so then you go out to something like an Atomos Ninja. So then you're essentially just buying the sensor when you're buying this camera. So you have to think to yourself, okay, I'm buying a camera system. What part of the system am I buying when I purchase something like this? Other things to think about in your camera system is your audio. Are you going into a Zoom, H1, H4, Tascam? Are you doing something that you can go right into the camera itself? Are you going from the mixer into the camera? Are you going completely separate? So anyway, I kind of digress there. Basically what I'm talking about is that you have to think about big picture camera system, not just what camera looks the best according to the specs on paper or the sample footage I'm seeing when I'm looking to buy something. So in comparison between these two cameras, again, apples and oranges, can you shoot a film on the Blackmagic camera system, and I'm talking about the 4K or the regular 2.5K or the pocket camera, and can you shoot something and make money off of it, or sell a picture, sell a film, sell a project? Absolutely. Can you shoot something on the Lumix system and do the same thing? Absolutely. We just finished up that one I keep talking about on the two GH2s we shot. That one is going to be sold momentarily, and yeah, it's going to make a profit. It's going to be great. So yeah, those two end results. Now, which one is better? That's debatable. It depends on your needs as a filmmaker. What are you going to do with it? So coming back to the whole film camera versus broadcast camera, the film cameras, they are very independent. You're basically buying a box that holds film and exposes. On top of that, you're going to have to worry about what lenses you're using, what kind of audio capture system are you using, follow focus, matte box, rail system, all these things that we've come to know shooting a DSLR. Everyone has become mainstream. Switching over to the E&G style camera, when you bought those kind of cameras, you bought basically audio-visual capture system. You bought the camera. It was a camcorder. It had audio, good audio imports on it. Sorry, not imports, audio boards, so you could capture sound with it. Sometimes they would have onboard ND filters, star filters, whatever, all kinds of little peripherals that made that camera more complete, more useful as a single unit, instead of taking it back and doing post-processing. Now the reason for that being obviously is completely different needs from different kind of ecosystems. Film, you shoot the film, you go and you process it, you make it perfect, polish it pretty, you bring it back. E&G style, you capture it. There is going to be post-processing, but you get as far as you can along down the road, close to the finished product as you can with that, so that it doesn't take as long to then get the product up, if you're thinking about news or broadcast or something like that. So along those same lines, now what does this mean? What am I talking about? I like to ramble. I know you guys always say, you talk too much. I like talking. So with the Blackmagic camera, what are you buying? You're buying a sensor. That's what I bought it for. Luckily enough, they also have the way it captures the it'll do ProRes and it'll do uncompressed on these teeny tiny cards. Now that wasn't the case off cameras a while ago that had nice you know, signal processing on it. So I bought the acquisition system. Pardon me as I put this in backwards or wrong or whatever. But that's really what I'm focused on is, okay, this camera is, that's where I'm going. The LCD is not very, I mean, no, I take it back. The LCD is decent, but this camera is going into my particular system. In my, you know, there's no kit lens that comes with this camera. There's no brand of lens that the Blackmagic comes with. You're just buying the sensor. So if you buy this camera, you think, okay, what am I going to use? Am I have to buy new glass? Am I going to have to buy external monitors? Am I have to buy extra batteries? Oh, that's the other thing. The batteries on this guy, they just are terrible. I mean, not as bad as the teeny ones from Red, but these only last about half an hour. And if you're a documentary guy, you want to leave it on all the time and get the stuff that you want. If you're a film guy, you can leave it on or turn it off more, but still, when you're on a big production, the camera usually stays on the whole time, and then everyone's lighting, looking at the monitor, looking at art, looking at whatever. You don't want to be popping the camera on and off it'll slow things down. So batteries on this are just ridiculous. So I'm going to plug in an extra battery source, a big V-mount battery or something like that, to make this a usable system. I was talking to another DP the other day, and he was saying, yeah, but those Blackmagic cameras, you got to do a bazillion things to make them useful. It's like, well, no, I know that, and that's very true, but I kind of see that as a challenge at the same time as that's just something you need to understand. You're not buying a complete camera system. You're buying essentially the sensor on this particular camera. Now, talking about the GH series cameras, or sorry, the Lumix series, you're buying more of a complete camera system. You're buying the LCD, works very, very nice. I can find focus on it. You can adjust it obviously for glare, whatever. You have the option of the digital, the viewfinder. You have the sensor, which you're buying. The GH4, we've talked about the compression rate for the 4K. You're going to a acquisition system. Now, do I want to go, again, 422 ProRes out of this camera? Well, I could if I had something externally recording compared to this guy, which records it nicely to the card. Let's see, anything else on this that I'm trying to make a comparison. Both of them have active lens mounts. You know, it just depends on what your lenses you're used to throwing on there. But the big question always comes down to the 4K versus the 1080p ProRes. 4K H.264 ProRes 1080p comes down to what you're going to do with it. Do you want to go and do tons of post-processing and color it like mad? That's going to be your guy right here. You want to go and kind of start with get a nice in-camera image and be able to go. You can still process these quite a bit, but nowhere near the same as working with a ProRes file that's flat. But you have a 4K thing. Somebody was mentioned, you know, you're going to have a lot of post-processing converting it to ProRes from the 4K if you're going to be stuck in Final Cut 7 or something like that. That's one of the reasons why I moved to Premiere, is because I know that I want to use native codecs. So Premiere will edit R3Ds, the red raw files, just native. You can drop ProReses, you can drop pretty much anything in there. It'll just play it all real time and work with it that way. So I really enjoy what Premiere's doing with that. So I don't necessarily worry about it. Now, working in a 4K file, yeah, that's going to be a question of whether your system can handle that, your computer system. I usually edit all my stuff in 4K native and then I author down, just because I like to have that option of that resolution. All right, how long am I going? About 8 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up now. So I know it really isn't much help, but my opinion is, which camera should you get? Well, if you're going to be more of a cinematic storyteller and you really like the image quality that you're going for, then I would go with something like the Blackmagic camera. Remembering that you're going to have to buy a lot of peripherals to make it very usable, because as it is out of the box, you can't do much with it. Having said that, we've got a project in the works where we're just going to shoot super low profile on these guys, but that's a very unique situation. If you want to have a camera that's a little more flexible that you can use for commercial, corporate, doc, you know, just kind of a more all-around workhorse, I would stick with something more like the Lumix cameras, GH3, GH4. GH4, I would say the 4K is something you guys should probably try to get into. The GH3s are going to drop in price, which is going to be great. If you really don't have the cash to get into a bigger system, then you can't go wrong with getting a GH3 or even a GH2. But the 4K is something that would be great to start working with, and you know, you're not going to be unhappy with it. And that's just, I mean, from the footage that I've seen and stuff, I don't think you're going to be unhappy with it. 10-bit, again, 10-bit, 8-bit. So that's something to think about. Do I want to have really perfect clear images with no banding and just the gradients look awesome? This camera is or something like it is your ticket. This camera is still going to look great, but you're still going to have occasionally aliasing, and you're still going to have you know, banding, things of that nature. So those are just the trade-offs you have to think about. Which one would I get? Ooh, that's a tough question. Let's say if I did not have a RED and already have access to a 4K camera, I would probably buy the GH4. And then once I had this guy going and happy and everything like that, I would probably go, okay, I want to go more cinematic. I would buy something like the Blackmagic. Now, having said that, the new Blackmagic camera, the 4K version of it is what was it, 2,500 now or 3,500? I can't remember. It was $1,000 less than what it was listed is going to be, which is amazing. Think about it though, with that camera you are still having to buy a lot of peripherals to make it functional. Still external monitors, SSD hard drives, batteries, etc., that will take a little more cash to make that camera usable, whereas the Lumix series cameras out of the box will be a lot more usable right away. So there you go. That's my camera systems thought. You know, when you buy something, don't think of it as I'm buying a camera that has everything in it. Think about how much of this is going to be needed to be supplemented by other pieces of equipment that I know as a working shooter I like to use or have to use. Follow focus, matte boxes, ND filters, lenses I already have or want or need. The last thing to think about, this is an important thing to talk about, but I'm going to throw it out there as a last minute thing, is sensor size. This is a teeny tiny sensor. This camera does best with micro four thirds lenses because they are all meant to be put on cameras with smaller sensor sizes. So their focal lengths are going to be a lot wider, and the speeds are going to be much faster to compensate for that. You put a 35 millimeter lens on this guy, and it feels obviously like a 70. So you got to have, and it's got to be fast to achieve the same sorts of depth of field if you're concerned about that. I don't really know the specs of the GH4 and how big the sensor actually is. I could try to look that up. Probably should look that up. But it's going to be bigger than this guy. So that's something to think about is, okay, not only are all these hardware issues image issues to think about, but the actual capturing sensor size is a big deal. I'm waiting for the Metabones adapter on this guy to put all my, I'm a Canon guy, so I have all the Canon glass, and I have a few Lumix lenses, but I can't spend a lot on the Panasonic micro four thirds lenses because I only have 2 cameras that use that. But I do have my RED and my Canon 7D, which are Canon cameras, but they can't use micro four thirds lenses, but all the micro four thirds cameras can use the Canon glass, and we'll be able to use those, you know, for forever. Lenses tend to keep their value and can use them on all kinds of systems. I'm not so sure the micro four thirds is brand new. We'll see how long it lasts and how long these teeny tiny sensors last. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Okay, so there you go. There's my thoughts on Blackmagic versus Lumix. Hope it was useful. I'm gonna keep looking at the monitor to make sure I'm either in focus or in frame. Hope that was somewhat useful and I didn't ramble too long. And if you listen to it all the way to the end, good on you, and you win a prize. I don't know what the prize is yet, but you'll win something. All right.